at the Auto Expo 2025, we're joined by none other than Mr. Martin Uhlarik, who's the head of global design for Tata Motors. Martin, really appreciate your time and thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us. I love talking design with you, Martin, and want to start off with you. It's a new year, brand new start. So if you could give me a sense of what are the new design, emerging trends in design that you're seeing or you're anticipating from the market right now?
If I look at the design industry, especially automotive design industry, I see an unbelievable level of confidence, not just from ourselves, but the industry in general. I see a complete uncompromised vision, where designers can come up with any idea and fundamentally get that onto the road. There's no longer a gap between what used to be concepts and what is production. Traditionally you'd show a concept car and then you'd see a couple of years later a production car and it would be very watered down. And now you basically see concept cars on the road from any number of OEMs. So it shows the capability of what the industry, but also the confidence that especially designers can do. And the other trend I would say is you can see that SUV is now becoming the mainstream. Whether it's our portfolio or any company around the world. You just see that whether it's a small car right up to a flagship luxury product, an SUV crossover DNA is almost like it's the standard now. And the powertrain story is also an interesting pillar because electrification is accelerating, and you see more and more models being offered from different companies, and that's influencing design. And customers are expecting the automobile to go from being an industrial product to a digital product. And that kind of is the segue from an ICE powertrain to an EV powertrain. And that's being represented in the design, flush designs, very simple, minimalistic, aerodynamic, very high-tech lamps, very slim lamps. And on the interior, it's more about the experience. Interiors are becoming, I would say, it's essentially a 50-50 equation. People would buy the vehicle more for the exterior. The interior is very much an afterthought. Now you see with interiors, it's the experience. It's a combination of the product design, it's a combination of the materials. People want luxury, they want soft touch, and then it's the interface with the technology. Obviously that's usually a screen somewhere mounted on the IP or in the center of the cockpit. And how your car interfaces with you, whether it's through your phone or the way you're driving and you're interfacing with the infotainment or the information. Everything has to be seamless, natural, intuitive, and customers are becoming very sophisticated in terms of their expectations, quality, fit and finish, stuff like that. So this democratization of design is really lifting the level of the products to an unbelievable level. So the competition is becoming very fierce.
Very fierce, And you mentioned about the capability of the industry in general to bring what you show in concept into real life.
That's right.
But do you think the audience, the market is ready, the consumer is ready to see those kind of radical designs on the road?
Yes. I mean, it depends on the product. This car is maybe a little bit more risque. But we have other products in our portfolio which are far more mainstream. But look at your phone. Most people in the world now have an iPhone or a Samsung, and the quality of these products in terms of the design, in terms of the manufacturing quality, the interface, is second to none. And you don't have to be somebody wealthy. You see basically everybody on the planet using these devices. So expectations are higher than ever, and we see just the overall trend that customers expect this sort of level of sophistication, and they want to say something. An automobile has always been a terrific avatar for the customer in terms of it saying who I am. And if you buy a product that has that level of fidelity, the level of quality, sophistication, design, technology, that communicates that the customer is also, at that level.
At that level.
Yes.
And if you talk about the back-end process, if you look at from your perspective, how is design changing when you talk about the development of design, conceptualization, and then the entire process, how is that process changing now in these times?
Yeah, it's come pretty unrecognizable from when I started. In many ways, I was working in a paper and pencil era, Everything is done digitally now. People are sketching digitally. We are, making data. We're milling a clay model from data. Then we still hand model it.
Okay.
But everything is being done digitally. We use virtual reality a lot. So we cut a lot of models out of the process, which means we accelerate the timeline by using VR to judge the exterior, also the interior. We have 3 studios, as you know, one in India, the UK, and Italy. All 3 are linked by VR, so we can have a design review where we're standing in front of the vehicle with headsets on, but also my colleagues from Pune are there, and my colleagues in Turin are there, and we're having a design review, but it's actually in our 4th studio, which is our digital virtual studio.
Right.
So that's the methodology. And then, the role of a designer is now to be a storyteller. The products tell the story of the brand. So that's ultimately what we're designing, is the brand. And the customer relates to us from that point of view. Tata Motors, as an overarching, that's the brand.
Right.
And then underneath that, there's sub-brands.
Right.
And, the role of the designer is ultimately to tell that story. It could be told through an affordable vehicle, it could be told through a premium vehicle. And like I said, we're no longer designing the product, we're designing the experience. So like I was mentioning with the interior, people sit in the interior and it's nothing one specific. The level of design is so high now in the industry in general that people, when they sit in it, it's more about the ambience and the atmosphere and the function. It's like when you go to a nice restaurant, I'm always using this as a metaphor. If you go to a nice restaurant and then a couple of days later you go like, that was a really nice evening. And you think about it, what was it? Was it the food? Was it the service? Was it the design of the restaurant? Was it the lighting? Was it the person you were with? Or is it all of those things all together layered up? And in many ways, that's how you have to think about design. It's how those elements layer up, materials, UX, UI, comfort, functionality, product design, the ride. Obviously there's things outside of design as well, but the whole experience is how people do it psychologically. They'll make a kind of judgment call within a couple of seconds, and then they'll go, that was really good, and later maybe they'll detail it out. But that's completely different from when I started in the industry. It was much more simple.
Could you talk me through what kind of a story you're trying to tell with the beautiful Avinia that is standing here? Yeah,
so the Avinia X is the second model which will be in the Avinia portfolio. This is a far more mainstream SUV from a proportional point of view in terms of height. The first model is much more lower, and that one will be launched in due course. But like I said, this one, but it's also very dynamic. So it has, quite a tapering back end. It's not a coupe outright, but it's something in between a coupe and a mainstream SUV. But the main thing is to communicate high-tech luxury. And if you see the front is very blunt and powerful. And then everything just sort of tapers away on the sidelines and everything. It's very minimalistic. Everything is flush. And obviously it's all highlighted by the signature T logo of the Avinia brand.
Right. And if you talk about, the industry Academia Connect, so what are you looking in new talent, if somebody who's working in a design, who's studying design right now, and is aspiring to be an automotive designer?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the recipe is the same as it's always been. I mean, the methodology has changed, but are you creative? Have you got good ideas, but also are you hungry? Are you standing up, putting your hand up? Are you willing to knock on doors? But it's not just to get the job. It's also, once you're in the studio, you're competing against 200 other designers, and how does your design get put forward? So you have to have this sort of you don't have to be aggressive, but you just have to have this like uncompromising confidence and belief in your ideas and communicate them. And don't worry about getting shot down. That's part of the business. I've got more designs in drawers than are on the road. But the reality is, you want people who are passionate, who are willing to fight, who are willing to believe in their ideas and their thing. And of course, they have to be creative and be able to visualize that creativity through sketches, through their presentations. Don't rely on the technology so much. Even a simple sketchbook is good enough to convince me, to hire a good, promising young designer.
Yeah, and you've recently expanded your design studio in India with a bigger setup in Pune.
Yes, we made a big investment in the Pune design team. In many ways, it was a reward for the outstanding work that they've done. The Sierra, which we've just launched today, was done in the Pune studio, and I think it's absolutely world class. But also the studio needed a refit, and it needed investment, and I think the quality of the environment will then be reflected also in the output. When people are happy to come to work and they're proud to come to work, they're inspired to come to work, that will be reflected in even more better products.
Right. On that optimistic note, Martin, thank you so much.
Right. Thank you.
Really a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you. All the best.